I stood in front of my mother's house on her 58th birthday, holding an expensive cake I had spent over $100 on. The door had just slammed in my face, and her words still echoed in my ears like a cruel melody I could not forget. "You are no longer my son." Those 6 words shattered everything I had built over the past decade. I had sacrificed so much, worked countless overtime hours, delayed my own dreams, all to make sure she lived comfortably. But that night, standing alone under the dim porch light with frosting melting on my fingers, I made a decision I never thought I would make. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what unfolded after that door slammed shut will show you what happens when unconditional love meets its breaking point. I grew up in a family that immigrated to America when I was just a kid. My father died when I was 12 years old in a workplace accident at a construction site. One moment he was there teaching me how to throw a baseball in our tiny backyard, and the next, my mother Gloria was a widow at 40, left alone to raise 2 children with almost nothing. My older sister Isabel was 16 then, and I became the man of the house overnight, even though I was still just a boy trying to figure out algebra. Gloria worked 2 jobs to keep us fed. I remember watching her leave at 5 in the morning to clean office buildings, then coming home just long enough to change clothes before heading to her evening shift at a laundromat. She rarely smiled during those years. Isabel, on the other hand, seemed untouched by our poverty. Mom protected her from everything, making sure she had nice clothes for school money, for activities with friends, and the latest magazines she wanted. I wore hand-me-downs from cousins and worked odd jobs starting at 14, mowing lawns and delivering newspapers before school. By the time I graduated high school, I had saved enough for community college. I studied every night after working at a grocery store, determined to build a better life. Isabel dropped out of college after 1 semester, saying she wanted to pursue modeling. She never made it past a few local catalog shoots, but Mom never pushed her to do more. Instead, Mom told me I needed to help support the family, since I was the man now. I did not argue. I loved my mother, and I wanted to make my father proud wherever he was. When I landed my first real job as a software engineer, at 22, making $45,000 a year, I started sending Mom $300 every month. It was not much, but it helped her cut back to 1 job. Over the years, as I earned promotions and my salary grew, that amount increased. By the time I was 26, I was making $80,000 annually, and I did something I had dreamed about since I was 12. I bought Mom a house. Well, I put a 30-year mortgage on it, but the 3-bedroom ranch-style home in a decent neighborhood was hers. I paid the monthly mortgage of $1,900 plus insurance, property taxes, utilities, everything. I even bought her a brand new Honda CR-V, so she would not have to take the bus anymore. Meanwhile, Isabel had married a guy named Trevor when she was 28. He worked in sales, though he changed companies every year or so, always with some excuse about bad management or unfair treatment. They had 2 kids, Sophia and Lucas, sweet children, who deserved better than the chaos their parents created. Isabel constantly borrowed money from Mom, which really meant borrowing from me since I was funding Mom's life. Every few months, there was a new crisis. The car broke down. Lucas needed new shoes. Their rent was late. I watched thousands of dollars flow from my bank account to Isabel, through Mom, and I said nothing because Mom would say, "Your sister is struggling. You have to understand. Family helps family." I understood. I understood that I was the only one doing the helping. 2 years ago, I met Diane at a coffee shop near my office. She was a 3rd-grade teacher, 29 years old, with kind eyes and a laugh that made me feel like everything might actually be okay. We talked for 3 hours that first day, and I knew immediately she was different from anyone I had ever met. Diane came from a big Irish Catholic family, loud and warm, and chaotic in the best way. Her parents had been married for 35 years, and still held hands at the dinner table. She saw the good in people, even when they did not deserve it. When I brought Diane home to meet Mom after 6 months of dating, I was nervous, but excited. I thought Mom would see what I saw: a woman who genuinely cared about me, not my paycheck. Instead, Mom was cold from the moment Diane walked through the door. She barely looked at her during dinner, answered questions in short, clipped sentences, and did not touch the apple pie Diane had baked from scratch. After Diane left, Mom said, "She is not one of us. She does not understand our culture, our struggles." I told myself Mom just needed time. Isabel was worse. She made comments about Diane's weight whenever we visited. "Oh, I guess teaching does not keep you very active, does it?" She mocked Diane's job. "Must be nice to have summers off while the rest of us work." She questioned everything Diane said, twisting innocent comments into insults. Diane never fought back. She smiled through it, all squeezed my hand under the table, and told me later that she understood family was complicated. She loved me, and she would wait for them to come around. 6 months before Mom's birthday, I proposed to Diane in the same coffee shop where we met. She said yes, before I even finished asking. We were planning an April wedding, something simple and beautiful. When I told Mom, she stared at me for a long moment, then said, "You do what you want, Rodolfo. But do not expect me to pretend I am happy about it." That hurt more than I wanted to admit, but I pushed forward believing love would eventually win. Then, Isabel's financial situation got worse. Trevor lost his job after showing up drunk one too many times. They owed over $20,000 on credit cards, their car was about to be repossessed, and they were 2 months behind on rent. Isabel called me crying, begging for $15,000. "Just this once," she said. "We will pay you back, I promise." For the first time in my life, I said no. I explained that I had given her $3,000 just last year, that she never repaid, that Diane and I were saving for our wedding, and a down payment on a house that she and Trevor needed to figure out their own finances. She called me selfish, heartless, and worse. Then she called Mom. Mom phoned me that same night, her voice sharp with disappointment. "How can you turn your back on your sister? She needs you." I tried to explain, tried to list all the times I had helped, all the money I had given, all the sacrifices I had made. Mom cut me off. "You make good money, Rodolfo. You can afford to help. Your sister is drowning." I hung up feeling like a failure, even though I knew I was right. Mom's birthday fell on a Saturday in mid-October. Despite the tension, I wanted to make it special. Diane and I spent the whole week planning. We hired someone to decorate the house with elegant fall colors, ordered Mom's favorite foods from an expensive Latin bakery across town, homemade flan fresh tamales, and arroz con pollo. I bought her a new iPad and a designer purse, spending $1,200 total. Diane made a photo album by hand, carefully selecting pictures from Mom's life and arranging them with little notes about each memory. We invited Mom's friends and some relatives, hoping to create a beautiful celebration she would remember. I called Isabel to make sure she knew about the party. Her response was icy. "Mom is my mother too, you know. Do not think throwing a big party makes you the favorite. Just because you refuse to help your own sister does not mean you can buy Mom's love." I bit my tongue and told her we would see her Saturday. Diane and I arrived early that morning to set everything up. The house looked beautiful, filled with flowers and colorful decorations. Guests started arriving around 2 in the afternoon, and the atmosphere felt warm and cheerful. Mom wore a lovely long dress and had her hair and makeup done professionally. She smiled and laughed with her friends, looking happier than I had seen her in months. But whenever Diane approached her, Mom's expression would shift, becoming polite but distant, as if Diane were a stranger rather than her future daughter-in-law. Isabel showed up an hour late with Trevor and the kids. She wore a flashy outfit covered in sequins and had dramatic makeup that seemed more suited for a nightclub than a family birthday party. She immediately became the center of attention, telling everyone about how hard life had been. how she was doing her best to raise 2 kids on almost nothing. She left out the part about Trevor drinking away half his paychecks, or her spending money on expensive makeup and clothes while claiming poverty. I stayed quiet, focusing on making sure Mom had everything she needed. When it came time to open presents, Mom opened Isabel's gift first. It was a cheap scarf, probably cost less than $20, based on the thin fabric and loose stitching. Mom held it up, gushing about how beautiful it was, how she would wear it all the time. "Thank you so much, honey. I love it." Then I handed her the box from Diane and me. She opened it slowly, revealing the iPad and designer purse. Her face showed no emotion. She simply said, "Thank you," her voice flat and empty. Diane offered the handmade photo album next, explaining nervously how she had spent weeks putting it together, finding old photos and writing little memories. Mom flipped through a few pages without really looking, then set it aside. "Very nice," she said already, turning to greet another guest. The cake came out after dinner, a beautiful 3-layer creation covered in Mom's favorite dulce de leche frosting. Everyone sang happy birthday, and Mom blew out the candles, making a wish I would never know. People mingled, ate cake, and chatted in small groups. Everything seemed fine until Mrs. Martinez, one of Mom's oldest friends, pulled Diane into a conversation. "Gloria, your future daughter-in-law is so thoughtful. You are lucky to have such a caring girl joining the family." The table went silent. Mom did not respond. Isabel jumped in with a cruel smile. "Well, nothing is set in stone yet, is it? Things can always change." Diane's face flushed red with embarrassment. I squeezed her hand, trying to offer silent support. I spoke up, keeping my voice steady. "Isabel, Diane, and I are getting married next April. We have already set the date and booked the venue." Isabel laughed, a harsh sound that made several guests look uncomfortable. "Oh, so you made this huge decision without really consulting the family. How typical of you, Rodolfo. Always doing whatever you want." I felt my patience slipping. "I told Mom and you 6 months ago. This is not new information." Trevor, who had been drinking steadily since he arrived, decided to add his opinion. "Must be nice being rich enough to do whatever you want, man. Maybe some of us are not so lucky." The mood in the room shifted. Several guests exchanged worried glances. A few started gathering their things, sensing the tension building. Mom stood up, her voice sharp. "That is enough, everyone. Let us just enjoy the rest of the evening." But Isabel would not let it go. She turned to Mom directly, her voice rising. "Mom, just tell everyone the truth. Do you accept this woman or not?" The room went completely silent. Every eye turned to Gloria, waiting. She said nothing, her jaw tight. Isabel continued, her words like poison. "See, Mom, Rodolfo only cares about himself. While your daughter is struggling to feed her children, he refuses to help, so he can spend money on some fancy wedding with a woman who is not even part of this family." I snapped. "That is a lie, Isabel. I have helped you countless times. You owe me $3,000 from last year, a loan money you swore you would pay back. Where is that money?" Isabel's face turned red. "You think one loan makes you generous? You pay for Mom's everything, but leave your sister to starve." Trevor stood up, swaying slightly. "Hey, watch how you talk to my wife." Diane tugged on my sleeve. "Rodolfo, please. Let us just go. We do not need to do this here." But Mom turned to Diane then, and her words cut through the room like ice. "Yes, you should leave. You are not family. You do not belong here." I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. "Mom, what are you saying?" Gloria looked at me, her eyes hard and cold. "You heard me clearly, Rodolfo. I will never accept that woman. If you marry her, you are no longer my son. Choose. Your family or her." Diane was crying now, pulling at my arm. "Please, Rodolfo. Let us go. I do not want to cause more problems." I looked at my mother, the woman I had sacrificed everything for. I looked at Isabel, smirking, as if she had won some twisted game. Then, I looked at Diane, the woman who loved me for who I was not what I could provide. Mom, I have given you everything for the past 10 years. I bought you a house. I pay for everything you need. All I want is to be happy with someone who truly loves me. Gloria's expression did not soften. Then make your choice. I held Diane's hand tighter. I choose Diane. Mom turned her back to me. Then you are not my son anymore. Get out of my house. Isabel Fake cried, pulling Mom toward the kitchen. Several guests stood frozen, unsure what to do. I guided Diane toward the door, my heart pounding. We walked out into the cool October night, and the door slammed behind us with a sound that echoed like a gunshot. I drove home in silence, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. Diane sat in the passenger seat, tears streaming down her face. She kept apologizing, saying she had ruined my relationship with my family, that maybe we should postpone the wedding that she could not live with, being the reason I lost my mother. I pulled into our apartment complex and turned off the engine. Diane, none of this is your fault. You have done nothing wrong. You have been patient and kind even when they treated you terribly. This is not about you. This is about them refusing to see me as anything other than a bank account. She went to bed early, exhausted from crying. I sat alone in the living room, my mind racing through every memory of the past decade. All those years of working extra hours, missing time with friends, delaying my own dreams, so Mom could live comfortably. The mortgage payments, the insurance, the utilities, the cash I sent every month, the car I bought her, the countless times I paid for Isabel's emergencies, never asking for anything back. And what did I get in return? A mother who threw me away the moment I chose my own happiness. A sister who only called when she needed money. A family that took and took and took, but gave nothing back except demands for more. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account. The automatic payments were all listed there, neat little rows that represented my life's work, funneled into a house I would never own. Mortgage payment, $1,900 every month. Homeowner's insurance, $220 monthly. Property taxes, $350 monthly. Car insurance for Mom's Honda, $140 monthly. Electric bill averaging $150 monthly. Water bill, $60 monthly. Internet and cable package, $130 monthly. Plus, the $500 cash I transferred directly to her account for groceries and spending money. Nearly $4,000 every single month, $48,000 every year for someone who just told me I was not her son. I stared at that list for a long time. Then, I thought about Mom's words. You are no longer my son. If I was not her son, then she was not my mother. If she was not my mother, then I owed her nothing. My fingers moved across the keyboard almost on their own. I canceled the automatic mortgage payment first. The bank would send her a notice in 30 days when the payment did not go through. Then, insurance both home and auto. The coverage would lapse in 15 days. I called the electric company's automated system and transferred the account into Mom's name, making her responsible for future bills. Same with water. I canceled the internet and cable service entirely. Finally, I deleted the monthly cash transfer. Every connection severed one by one. At 2 in the morning, I wrote an email to Mom. My hands shook as I typed. Dear Mom, you told me I am no longer your son. I respect your decision. Starting today, I will no longer provide financial support. I have canceled all payments and transferred all accounts into your name. You and Isabel will need to take care of yourselves now. I wish you good health. Rodolfo. I hit send before I could change my mind. The feeling that washed over me was strange, a mixture of relief and deep sadness. I knew I had done the right thing, but it still hurt, like losing a part of myself. Sunday morning, I turned off my phone so Diane and I could have some peace. We went for a walk in the park, talked about our future, about the wedding, about the life we wanted to build together. Diane kept apologizing, and I kept reassuring her. You have nothing to apologize for. I chose you because you love me for who I am, not for what I can give you. That is real love, and it is worth more than any amount of money. Late that afternoon, I finally turned my phone back on. 27 missed calls and 15 text messages, almost all from Isabel. Are you insane? What did you do to the bank account? Mom cannot pay her electric bill. Trevor needs to get the car fixed, but there is no insurance. Call me right now. One message from Mom simply said, "You need to reconsider." I did not respond to any of them. Monday morning while I was at work, Mom called directly. I stepped outside to take the call, already knowing what was coming. Rodolfo, what have you done? Why cannot I pay my bills? I kept my voice calm. You said I was not your son anymore, so you do not need me to take care of you anymore. There was a long silence. Then Mom spoke again, her voice different now, almost pleading. I was angry, Mijo. People say things when they are angry. Now just put the money back. I felt that familiar pull, the urge to fix everything to make her happy. But I pushed it away. Mom, are you sorry you rejected me? Or are you sorry you lost my money? She did not answer. I continued. You have never truly been sorry for how you treat me. You are only sorry when you need something from me. Mom's voice turned hard again. You are ungrateful. You would let your mother suffer. You have Isabel to take care of you. She can help now. I hung up. Over the next 2 weeks, I blocked all calls from Mom and Isabel. But word traveled through the family, and I heard things through cousins and aunts. Mom had to borrow money from relatives to pay the electric and water bills. Isabel tried to convince her to sell the iPad and purse I had given her for quick cash. Trevor had to take a job at a convenience store, making minimum wage and hating every minute. Mom received a warning letter from the bank about the missed mortgage payment threatening foreclosure if she did not catch up. Without car insurance, she was too scared to drive anywhere. My Aunt Maria called me one evening, trying to play peacemaker. Rodolfo, I understand you are hurt, but she is your mother. How can you do this? I respected Aunt Maria, so I explained patiently. Tia Maria, I have been taking care of everyone else for 10 years. I have sacrificed my own life, my own happiness. I just want permission to live for myself now. But what if she ends up homeless? Maria pressed. Mom can sell that house. It is too big for one person anyway. She could buy a smaller condo, something affordable. She would have money left over. Maria went quiet for a moment, then said, You are right, Mijo. And Isabel is nearly 40 years old with her own family. She needs to learn to take care of her mother too. The following month, I heard that Mom had put the house on the market. It sold quickly, at a good price. After paying off the remaining mortgage, she walked away with about $40,000. She bought a small 2-bedroom condo in a less expensive area. The payments were manageable on her part-time income from working at a Latin bakery. But the condo only had 2 bedrooms, and Trevor's salary was not enough to afford separate housing. So Isabel, Trevor, and their 2 kids moved in with Mom. 5 people in a small condo made for tension nobody could escape. Then, something unexpected happened. Diane received an email. It came to her personal address, which meant Mom had really looked for it. The subject line said simply, an apology. Diane opened it with shaking hands. Dear Diane, I am sorry for how I treated you. You are a good person. If Rodolfo still wants to marry you, I would like to be there. I just want to see my son again. Please. Gloria. Diane showed me the email, tears in her eyes. I read it 3 times looking for manipulation or hidden motives. But it seemed genuine, raw, in a way Mom had never been before. I thought about that email for 3 days. Part of me wanted to ignore it to protect myself from more hurt. But another part, the part that still remembered being 12 years old and watching my mother work herself to exhaustion To keep us fed. That part, wanted to believe people could change. I told Diane I would meet with Mom, but just me, just once to see if this was real. We agreed to meet at a neutral coffee shop downtown on a Wednesday afternoon. Mom arrived 10 minutes early. I saw her through the window as I walked up, and my heart clenched. She had lost weight, and she looked older, more tired. When I sat down across from her, the silence between us felt heavy. She spoke first, her voice quiet. "Thank you for coming. I did not think you would. I ordered coffee I did not really want, just to have something to do with my hands. I am here." "What do you want to say?" Mom's eyes filled with tears. "I am sorry, mijo. I was wrong. About everything." I waited, needing more than just words. She continued, "I was wrong to choose Isabel over you. I was wrong to reject Diane. I was wrong to take everything you gave and never say thank you. I was wrong to make you feel like your only value was how much money you could provide. I have been a terrible mother to you." I kept my voice steady, even though emotions were churning inside me. "Are you sorry you lost me? Or sorry you lost my financial support?" She flinched, but she did not look away. "At first, when you cut off the money, I was angry. I thought you were being cruel. But then, I had to figure things out on my own, and I realized something. I realized I had been using you. For years. I took your love and your generosity, and I gave you nothing back except more demands. And when you finally asked for something for yourself, when you wanted to marry someone who makes you happy, I threw you away. I am sorry, I was not the mother you deserved." The tears in her eyes spilled over. Living with Isabel these past months has opened my eyes. She complains constantly. She blames everyone else for her problems. She expects me to solve everything for her, just like I always expected you to solve everything for me. I see now what I did to you. I created Isabel's behavior by enabling it, and I destroyed you by demanding you carry all of us. I felt my own eyes burning. For years I waited to hear something like this. "Mom, I do not hate you. I never did. But I cannot go back to how things were. I cannot be the person who sacrifices everything while everyone else takes. I need boundaries. I need my own life." She nodded quickly. "I do not want your money, Rodolfo. I am working now. I can pay my own bills. I will never ask you for money again. I just want my son back. Even if that means just having coffee together once a month. Even if that means you never help me with anything ever again. I just want to know you." We talked for 2 hours that day. I told her about my job, about Diane, about our wedding plans. She listened without judgment, without asking for anything. When we left, she hugged me, and I let her. It did not fix everything, but it was a start. Over the next few months, Mom and I slowly rebuilt our relationship. We met for coffee every other week. She came to dinner at our apartment twice, and she was kind to Diane, genuinely kind. She asked Diane about her students, complimented her cooking, and even apologized directly for her past behavior. Diane, being the incredible person she is, forgave her. Mom got a part-time job at the bakery and seemed happier, being productive. She made friends with her co-workers and started doing things for herself instead of living through her children. Isabel and I barely spoke. She was angry at me for not rescuing her anymore, and I was at peace with that distance. When April arrived, Diane and I got married in a small ceremony at a botanical garden. 50 guests, simple and beautiful, exactly what we wanted. Mom was there, dressed nicely, smiling genuinely. She hugged us both after the ceremony and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me completely. I am proud of the man you are." Those words meant more than any apology, because they came without expectation, without strings attached. Isabel did not come to the wedding. I did not really expect her to, and I was fine with that. Some relationships are not worth saving, and that is okay. Diane and I bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood with a backyard, perfect for the family we hope to have someday. We filled it with things we chose together, created a life built on mutual respect and genuine love. I learned that loving someone does not mean letting them destroy you. I learned that family is not defined by blood, but by who shows up for you, who respects you, who celebrates your happiness instead of resenting it. I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who refuse to value you, even if those people are family. Mom and I found a new balance. We had coffee together once a month. She called sometimes just to talk, never to ask for anything. On Mother's Day, I sent flowers, and she cried and thanked me, saying she did not deserve them, but she appreciated them. I told her we were starting fresh, and that meant focusing on the present, not the past. She agreed. Our relationship would never be what it was before, but it became something healthier, something based on mutual respect, rather than obligation and resentment. Sitting in my backyard, now watching Diane water the tomato plants we are growing together, I think about that night when Mom told me I was no longer her son. In a way, she was right. I am not the son who sacrificed everything, who gave endlessly, without receiving anything back, who accepted mistreatment, because I believed that is what family meant. That son died the night I canceled those payments. The person I am now understands that real family does not use you. Real love does not demand you set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Real relationships are built on respect, gratitude, and reciprocity. Sometimes losing what you thought was family helps you discover what family truly means. Sometimes the greatest act of love is teaching people they cannot take you for granted. Sometimes you have to cut people off to teach them your value. And sometimes, just sometimes, they actually learn. So let me ask you, have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who took you for granted? How did you find the courage to put yourself first? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear your stories. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss future stories. Share this with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to choose yourself. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you the courage to stand up for your own happiness, whatever that looks like for you. Remember, you deserve to be valued, not used. Take care.